And good evening. We are doing it live right here in the 5 o'clock hour in Los Angeles, in the heart of drive time. Mottek On Money, 5 nights a week for you, live on the air right here on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com, and your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast at KBC.com, Apple, iTunes, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Right to the Main Street economy of Los Angeles tonight, a spectacular start to the holiday season in Los Angeles at the 22nd annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the Grove by Rick Caruso. The Grove transformed into a holiday wonderland with a fantastic onstage holiday show with the awesome musical talent, including David Foster and America's Sweetheart Catherine McPhee. Fireworks, a drone light show, snow, the lighting of the spectacular Christmas tree, and, of course, the impressive arrival of a special visitor all the way from the North Pole. Santa Claus himself appeared, thrilling kids of all ages. The holiday tradition continues at the Grove and all the other Rick Caruso shopping destinations here in Southern California. The most popular, including Americana at Brand, Palisades Village, Commons at Calabasas, the Promenade at Westlake. The holiday tradition continues here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Joining us live now, the one and only Rick Caruso. Rick, thank you very much for taking the call here this evening.
Well, thank you, Frank, and it was great seeing you the other night at the tree lighting, the Christmas tree lighting at the Grove. So thanks for being there, and the season is off and running.
It is for us to thank you. You made it wonderful for everyone there, Rick, as you always do. Tell us about this holiday season. We do this conversation every year to size up the holiday shopping season. According to the National Retail Federation, it could be a record breaker. Give us your view of things heading into the season.
You know, I think it's going to be interesting, Frank, because, you know, you saw, and I know you've talked about it, you saw consumer spending nationally just tick down a bit. So I think we're starting to feel the impact of higher interest rates on the consumer and the shopper. At our properties, we're still seeing strength. The shoppers are engaged in spending. As you said, National Retail Federation is predicting, I think, 3 or 4% increase. And I tend to agree with that. I think we're going to have a good holiday season. People are still going to go out and spend. You know, the first quarter, we may see some pulling back, but I'm pretty optimistic about what's going to happen. And I think also people just want to get out and enjoy the holidays. We've got such a complicated world around us. We all need some joy and hang out with family and friends.
Certainly, and at all the properties, of course, Santa's Workshop, right, and the whole works this year.
Well, Santa's going to be at the Grove, talking to kids, and the workshop is there. I believe Santa shows up on Monday. It snows every night. Same at the Americana. I'm actually in the car on my way to the Promenade at Westlake. We're lighting the tree out there tonight out in Thousand Oaks. And that's where it first started 27 years ago. And so I'm always excited to get out to that tree lighting as well. That's wonderful. And tell us, there'll be other holiday celebrations. You have the menorah lighting ceremony as well at the properties too? Yeah, you know, they're all posted on the properties' websites and on CARUSO website. We have menorah lightings. We want to celebrate everybody's faith, and we've got a big menorah lighting out at the Commons of Calabasas. We've got a menorah lighting adjacent to the Grove, out at the Palisades. It is time to come together and celebrate our faith and our family and celebrate being in the great city of Los Angeles. And we have Thanksgiving coming up. Of course, you're well known for your philanthropy and donating turkeys and helping the homeless over the holidays. You've been doing this for years. Rick Caruso, tell us about the tremendous need out there and what you'll be doing to help the folks this holiday season. Well, thank you, Frank. I think we all know there is so much need in Los Angeles. We've got thousands and thousands of people that are living at or below the poverty line that cannot afford to have a Thanksgiving dinner. So, you know, Tina and I and the kids, we feel very blessed and fortunate. But Monday we're going to be down in Watts, and we're going to be giving away about 400 turkeys and all the goodings that go with a great turkey dinner to the families of Operation Progress, to the families of families that have lost children due to gang violence. and the Thrive organization down there. So we're going to be down there at St. Lawrence in Watts giving away those turkeys. And for those who need it, please come by, and we'd love to share with you all the goodies for Thanksgiving so you have a nice family dinner.
That's wonderful. On the Air Live with Rick Caruso, and it's hard to believe, Rick Caruso, you almost became mayor of Los Angeles. It was a year ago already. What are your thoughts about what happened there, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, I know. I can't believe it was a year. It was a great year. I mean, we crisscrossed paths, Frank, so you saw it. I love being out there. I love being around the city. I love meeting new people and being in all the great neighborhoods in Los Angeles. And we have the dearest, best people that are members of our Los Angeles community. So it was just amazing. And listen, I'm sorry I lost, but Karen won, and we need to support Mayor Bass and do whatever we can to make sure that the city continues to move forward. And I'm going to continue to stay involved through our philanthropy and other things, and certainly stay connected politically, and especially to help those that don't have a voice, to help small business, to help people who live at or below the poverty line, especially the children, and give them the education that they need and the health care that they certainly deserve, and just make as much of a difference as I can. And hopefully many, many of us in Los Angeles do the same, as much as we can all do, and bring everybody along with us. So it's certainly the season to be doing that, Frank, that's for sure.
And you certainly made a very important point, and I think Mayor Bass took a page from your playbook during the campaign, declaring an emergency on homelessness, and we're reminded of the level of all this with that horrible fire recently under the freeway, of the 10 freeway, and of course, under many freeways, we're seeing what's happening out there. What do you think is going to take now to turn the homeless situation around, especially as we focus on these heartbreaking stories during the holiday season?
Yeah, Frank, our homeless population is growing. For some reason, we're not building housing in the city to house them. I don't understand that. There is a clear path to get people off the streets and to get them in housing and to give them the services that they need. I had a plan to do it. I know that plan works. I've mentioned to the leadership of Los Angeles, including the mayor, just use the plan and I'll help you any way I can. We need to get families off the street. We have more kids living on the street. We have 18,000 women tonight that will go to sleep on our streets, and that's just inhumane and unacceptable. It's got to be done. And, this fire on the freeway, I've lived by one rule, and many rules, but one rule is what's predictable is preventable. We could see this happening, and we didn't do anything about it. Well, let's get all the homeless out of these underpasses now. Let's get all the trash out from these underpasses so it doesn't happen again. And nobody's calling for that to happen, but it needs to happen. And that's where leadership comes in. And, boy, we sorely need smart, strong, intelligent leadership to get this city on the right track and to get these good people off the streets so they have a better quality of life and have something to look forward to in terms of a productive, healthier lifestyle.
You take tremendous pride at all of your properties. Just the second you walk onto the property, it's a beautiful place, clean, absolutely pristine. You wanted to do that for all of Los Angeles, right? What do you think it would take to do that? Leadership?
I know the cell service in LA needs a little bit of help. But listen, all the problems we're facing in Los Angeles are fixable. And, we just need to hunker down and make some good decisions. You got crime problems. We need to hold criminals accountable. Repeat offenders may need to be incarcerated. And then certainly give them a way to be rehabilitated and productive members of our community. But this whole idea that we're not holding people accountable or that we have no bail is just ridiculous. It's a bad policy, and it's having bad results that we're all living with. And the homeless, build homes. Get it done. And I'm going out to the promenade at Westlake. That's an over 200,000 square foot shopping center. Frank, 27 years ago, we built in 24 weeks from beginning to end, and we're open for business. So There's a lot of smart people in this town that can help build and give advice, but we need the leadership of the city to say we're going to get this done. And unless that happens, we're not going to fix the problems that we're all living with.
Of course, you command the utmost respect in the business community here, and what is your message to the business folks out there who, of course, got through the pandemic recently, and now obviously a lot of uncertainty, and with what's happening around the world and with the economy, people look to you as a beacon of success and hope and strength. What is your message to the folks out there this evening?
You know, big business is the backbone of the city. Small businesses are 90% of the backbone of the economy of LA, and we've got to support our small businesses and give them a path forward. But big business, we need to encourage more people to open businesses in LA, hire more people, grow our economy. But businesses need to stick together and start demanding that this city become business friendly. Because unless we do that, and unless we allow businesses to grow in the city, our economy is going to shrink. And our neighboring cities are going to eat our lunch. So it's a competitive field, and we should be a great business environment where people can have great careers and grow their businesses and buy homes. And that's why we need to build more housing, not only for the homeless, but for young people who are starting out in their careers, for our teachers, our firefighters, our police. I just don't understand why we're not doing that right now. There's no excuse for it. And so we need to demand it and raise our voices. And those who aren't getting things done in this city, we should vote them out of office, and let's bring in some new leadership that can make it happen. And we got council races coming up next year. People need to get out and vote. We got some really extremists on that city council that need to be voted off the council. And bring some moderates in, bring some people that will reach across the aisle and actually represent the good people of Los Angeles and making LA more livable and safer.
On the Air Live with Rick Caruso, congratulations on that milestone tonight at the Collins at the Promenade at Westlake. That is 27 years ago. It was built, and it was a different world then. Are you looking to build another property in the area?
Well, we've got a pipeline of projects that we're looking at, but we've got a project down in Calabasas at our property. We're building residential. We're doing more out in Thousand Oaks on residential. We've got ideas out in Glendale. We've got some things in LA. So up in Montecito, we're going to have a very busy year. The team is busy, and I'm excited about what we're doing, and we're doing some things on the homeless front also that we'll be announcing after the first of the year, which I'm very excited about, that I believe is going to be a blueprint for others and for the city to follow to get people off the streets.
On the Air Live with Rick Caruso, and of course, you have an open line here when you're ready to make those announcements. I was at that magnificent holiday kickoff, the Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the Grove the other night, and I noticed Hudson, the golden retriever, especially enjoyed David Foster and Catherine McPhee on stage. How's Hudson doing?
Hudson's doing great. You know, I just left him. He had to go home while I go to this tree lighting, but I almost took him. He loved the tree lighting. He couldn't figure out the snow. But my God, he's a fun guy to hang out with, and no matter how difficult the day may be, I think all of us who have dogs, you look down at your four-legged friend, and it just makes the day better. So I'm a big advocate for having animals in your life, and it's another thing we need to do in the city is take better care of animals that we have, and we have a shelter system, animal shelter system, that is just terrible, that needs to be cleaned up and fixed. A lot to do. No doubt there's a lot to do.
Certainly. Rick Caruso, we wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving, a wonderful holiday season, a Merry Christmas. We'll let you get on to the festivities this evening at the Promenade at Westlake. And as long as I have a voice, I want to express my gratitude on behalf of everyone who's been to all of your great places and has appreciated your philanthropy over the years and your leadership. You command the utmost respect among the entire business audience here. Thank you very much, Rick Caruso, for joining us live here this evening.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for those kind comments. God bless you and every Angelino, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody, pal. Take care. Stay safe.
Peace be with you, and thank you very much for joining us live here tonight on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Friends, people like you and me have our ear to the ground on all things business. We like to be informed and well prepared. As important as finance is, I want you to have a plan in case you're hit by someone not paying attention to the road. Thinking ahead serves us well. Even still, we can get caught off guard as people are so focused on their destination that they might not have a plan if they're in an accident that's not their fault. That's why I encourage you to put my friend Attorney Clark Fielding's number in your phone. That number is 833-88-SHARK. So if you're in an accident, you'll be ready with your strategy to make Clark Fielding your first call. Fielding Law aims to the highest possible settlement, considering you might need long-term care, rehab, compensation for lost wages, and any ongoing physical or emotional pain. So if you're hurt in any kind of accident, call for a free consultation with Fielding Law. You can trust them. They're honest, respected, and your strategy in case you get into that unexpected accident. Motorcycle, truck, pedestrian, scooter, hit and run, boating, or motorcycle accidents, you name it. The number to call is 833-88-SHARK. Put it in your phone right now, 833-88-SHARK, or go to clarkthesharklaw.com. 790 KBC welcomes Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire coming to the Kia Forum on September 6th of 2024. Yep, make plans now. Tickets on sale today at Ticketmaster.com. Right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-795-2222. You can get a pair of tickets to the show coming up September 6th next year. Caller 9 wins 1-888-795-2222. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KBC. Another big thank you to Rick Caruso for leading the show this evening. And a big holiday celebration happening at the Promenade at Westlake this evening. We turn now to the stock market. The Dow posting a closing gain today of 2 points, settling at 34,947. The S&P 500 up 6 at 4,514. And the NASDAQ gained 12 at 14,125. For the week, the Dow was up nearly 2%. The S&P 500 up 2.2%. The NASDAQ advanced 2.4%. Over the past 3 weeks, the Dow up nearly 8%. The S&P 500 nearly 10%. The NASDAQ has jumped nearly 12%. An impressive rally so far in the month of November. We did see the latest readings today on the economy, including the report that showed construction of new homes rose 1.9% in October. Investors taking that in, as well as the corporate earnings reports, with shares of retailer Gap surging nearly 31% after the company said it didn't have to discount as much during the third quarter as inventories fell. Gap among the star performers of the day today. Applied Materials shares down 4% on the flip side on a report that the chip maker is under a criminal investigation by the Justice Department for potential export violations. That news overshadowing a positive earnings report as Applied Materials reported quarterly results that topped analyst revenue and earnings estimates, according to MarketWatch. Taking a look at the price of oil, it has been pulling back lately. And right now, as we head into the weekend, at 75 and change. The price of gold hovering at $1,983 an ounce. Turning now to the cryptos, we see a Bitcoin at the moment up about $30 at $36,451. Bitcoin has been on a roll this year. Ethereum up $9 now at $1,956 per Ethereum coin. And let's bring up Dogecoin, which has also been moving higher lately. In fact, it's up to nearly 9 cents. Taking a look at the yield in the 10-year note, mercifully, we've seen mortgage rates pull back from 23-year highs recently as bond yields, those benchmark bond yields have pulled back. The yield in the 10-year note heading into the weekend is at 4.44%. If you're heading out of town, we see the euro at 109 versus the dollar now, the yen at 149.60, and the British pound sterling at 125 versus the American dollar. We'll talk the markets in just a few moments with the market expert Jim Hausberg, who will be joining us live. But right now, let's get the latest news for you right here on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KBC. As you heard on the news at the bottom of the hour, OpenAI has announced Sam Altman no longer its chief executive, with ChatGPT parent company adding that Altman had not been consistently candid in his communications with the board. It looks like Altman has released a tweet saying he will have more to say about what's next later. We see shares of Microsoft, which was an early investor in OpenAI that's been working to embed the AI company's technology into its products, moving lower after the news of Altman's exit, and the stock down about 1% in after-hours trading. Of course, ChatGPT became a household name late last year after OpenAI made the service available through a research preview, opening the floodgates of companies utilizing or claiming to utilize AI-powered features in their businesses, according to MarketWatch. So we're watching that. And we ended the week higher today and ended a winning week higher with the Dow up 2 points at the close today. The S&P 500 of 6. The NASDAQ moved up 12 points. And joining us live now to talk about the markets and the economy, investment expert Jim Hausberg joins us live now, Managing Director at Hightower Advisors, the Hausberg Group in Beverly Hills. Jim Hausberg, thanks very much for taking the call here to wrap up the week. And give us your view of this latest market action here, first of all.
Well, thanks for having me, Frank. I love when you call me an expert, which I always laugh at, but, I appreciate the kind words. It's funny. I guess maybe I am an expert because my last few times I've been on, I made the call that growth was the place to be and also bonds, and boy, it's both taken off. This rally really began with the lower CPI number a few days before. There was some rumblings of it. And then when Chairman Powell spoke, without saying too much, led most investors to believe that the Fed was done raising rates for 2023 after obviously moving up, 500 basis points from 2 years ago. The high inflation number back in 22 of 9%, now we're looking 3.5%. So we've had a huge rally in the bond market. Doesn't get as much play as the stock market. But then in the stock market, the S&P has done incredibly well. But let's just remember, it's a market cap weighted index, which means the largest companies have a bigger impact. And what I find very interesting is that although the S&P is now up, call it 17 to 18, it was up, 8 or 9 at the end of October, is that it's really growth-based, technology in particular, the Magnificent Seven, those have been where the places to be: Google, Amazon, Apple, Meta, I have them all, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Tesla, all up huge this year. And these are the largest cap companies. So when you look at the overall S&P and you equally weight every company, all 500, S&P is up 3.5, which tells you there's a lot of sectors that are way behind, but other sectors are doing incredibly well. I think it's going to start to spread out. And I think rates are going to hold in here, and the rally is going to continue. When you see this type of move in the market over a short period of time, it's not going to do this every, 10 or 15 days. But I think it bodes well for rallying to the end of the year and into next.
On the Air Live with Jim Hausberg, and let me ask you about the news tonight on this OpenAI story. Sam Altman no longer the company's chief executive. We saw some reaction there with Microsoft. What are your thoughts about that news? Microsoft, the other Magnificent Seven, and the AI plays following this big announcement today.
Yeah, well, I don't know what type of impact it's going to have. Obviously, he ran a great company. I tend to think Microsoft is well aware of who he was and some of the issues, but I can't comment on it. All I can tell you is Microsoft hit an all-time high today. $370, you go back over history, it's been incredible. I think the market cap now on Microsoft is about $2.7 trillion, probably going to 3 and probably going to 4. So I would not be concerned at all with this news on OpenAI. AI is here to stay. Other companies involved, NVIDIA, which has made a 250% move this year. Earnings are coming out next week. We'll see. But, the chip sector has done well, but, it's always, like it's either the hottest place to be or maybe a place not to be. It's all based on price and such. But anything AI related seems to be pretty hot. But and NVIDIA is the pure play in that space. I wouldn't really be concerned with Altman leaving ChatGPT.
All right. Jim Hausberg, let me ask you this. We just spoke to Rick Caruso on the air about the holiday shopping season with all the holiday kickoff events happening here in Southern California ahead of Thanksgiving weekend next weekend. And big predictions from the National Retail Federation. It could be a record holiday shopping season this year. We did get some results, I think, from Ross Stores today, which came in better than expected. And Ross Stores was a big winner on Wall Street today. Why don't you size up those retail names for us as we head into the holiday shopping season?
I think it's really a mixed bag in retail, Frank. It really depends on which one. Gap had some better numbers. Target's numbers have missed. Obviously, Amazon is the main player in there. So when you look at consumer discretionary, Amazon is the one. I think the stock is up in the neighborhood of 53% year to date. I'm not that keen on retail. I think it's very selective. I mean, Lululemon's a great play, but then there's other companies. Nike's great. It's tough for me. It seems to me, Frank, that what's changed with the consumer, and maybe it's more the millennials or Gen X, but people tend to want to spend money on experiences, not necessarily clothing and shoes and other retail items. So the economy's strong. The consumer has more money in their pocket than they did a while back. And so from that standpoint, it probably could be the biggest number ever, but that's not to be unexpected. I just don't have a great feeling about certain retailers. So it's just not an area that I would focus on. It seems like you got to really catch it right. And there's been some big winners in the space, no doubt about it.
All right, let's focus now on the big question here. Any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Yeah, so Frank, I've been talking about buying bonds, and as much as bonds have not been a great place to be for the last 10 years, with rates moving up, especially over the past 18 months, now I think it's a good time. We've had a big rally in bonds, so I wouldn't be afraid of it. My concern with bonds and the overall market is if the inflation numbers, start to move up again, the Fed is probably going to raise because they want to get that inflation down to 2. It's 3.2 to 3.5, way down from where it was. So I would just keep paying attention to the Fed and kind of follow what they're doing. So bonds to me are a good play. I wouldn't go too long, but I'm okay in the 5 to 10 year area. Munis, if you want tax free, corporates, whether it's in a retirement account or if it's high enough. There's a lot of credit strategies out there, Frank, in the 7 to 9% range. High yield bonds in the 8 to 9 range. I think this stuff is attractive for part of a portfolio. So I think within fixed income, we continue to add to the highest quality treasuries and munis and sprinkle some out in some of the, ones with, greater return and greater risk. As far as the equity market is concerned, it's hard not to own tech. I can't say I'd be chasing the valuations on some of these big names with the moves they've made this year. So I look for some sectors that are behind. I think healthcare, which is somewhat recession resistant, is down for the year. The energy stocks have come way down. I'm not a huge fan there. The financials really have had a bad run. They're up a little bit, but with all that took place in the beginning of the year with Silicon Valley Bank and First Republic, people have shied away. Technology is up 49%, telecom and so on up 49 also. So the areas that are out of favor, real estate's interesting to look at if rates come down. So I continue to look at some of these other areas. The other thing I would say is I looked at small cap and maybe move a bit away from large. Small cap is really underperformed. If we don't go into a hard recession, which doesn't appear likely, and rates continue to go down, small cap could rally. Small cap indices are up 3%, 1%, not much. So I think if you have confidence in the economy, which I do, I think that's a good place to look.
And now with the strike over in Hollywood, you're among us here in Southern California. Jim, among the movers and shakers you talked to, what's the mood out there at the moment?
People are pretty happy that they've come to an agreement on this. But, it obviously was painful, and it's really hard to say. I mean, I think when you look at individual companies in the space, there's been some winners there. I think the most interesting one is Disney. I said last time about it, incredible assets that they have. Stock was 180. It's now in the 90 to 94. I just think that's a good play in the entertainment space. But people getting back to work is a good thing. So hopefully this lasts for long. The streaming businesses are doing well. A lot of content, as you know, so it's very, very competitive. But I think most of these companies are going to turn the corner and look for better things into the future.
All right, Jim. Well, thank you very much for taking the call. You were on with us just about 3 weeks ago. We've just had the best 3-week winning streak in about 3 years. So you are an expert. So thank you very much, Jim, for taking the call here tonight. That is investment expert. Yep, I'll say it again. Jim HAUSBERG, Managing Director at Hightower Advisors, the HAUSBERG Group in Beverly Hills. Jim, have a great weekend, and thanks very much for taking the call here.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
You too. Thank you very much, Jim. Right out to the freeways we go now on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KABC. Good evening. Got Thanksgiving next week. In the LA Auto Show, opening today to the public. It's the most wonderful time of the year for people who love cars in L.A. with the L.A. Auto Show getting underway this weekend. Let's talk about what's happening there right now with our auto expert, Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast, who's had a chance to preview the L.A. Auto Show, which is a very influential show in the automotive industry and the first big one really heading into the new year. Lauren, thank you very much for taking the call here. And what's caught your attention there at the L.A. Auto Show?
Oh, there was a lot of good cars at the LA Auto Show, including the 3 finalists for North American Car, Truck, and Utility of the Year awards. We had the Honda Accord, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, which is an electric vehicle, and the Toyota Prius and Prius Prime were the final 3. So that's interesting because you have 2 gas-powered vehicles, 1 electric vehicle, and the demand is quite high for cars and trucks, obviously, in general, but having a choice is what I keep talking about. The truck category was the Chevrolet Colorado, the Chevrolet Silverado EV, the electric truck, which I did get a chance to drive, and the Ford Super Duty, which is like 3/4 ton up, like a work truck. And the SUV was all electric, which I found interesting. The Genesis electrified GV70, the Kia EV9, which is a brand new 3-row SUV, very cool. I think that's going to be your winner. And the Volvo EX30, which is a brand new vehicle, which we just reviewed. So lots of interesting vehicles are coming out at the auto show. Plus, we got to see the new Camry, the 2025 Camry. That was really nice. And they're replacing the Venza with the new Crown. So that's going to be nice. We also saw the Subaru Forester completely redesigned. And that'll be on the show floor. So if you decide to go down the convention center, it's like it used to be. Just lots of cars, electric driving opportunities, a lot of unique vehicles. And the most unique, I would say, is the Lucid, which is a car company that's based out of California. They have some cars, but now they have their first SUV called the Gravity. There's 480 miles of range, and it starts at $80,000. I know it seems like a lot of money, but if you were going to buy an electric car, it's about range and quick charging, and it does have both. We also got a chance to see the Ford Mustang GT. They have a California special edition, back to an homage to the state of California, which is nice. That's there, as well as some new Ram trucks. And there's a Ford Gamer van. If you're bringing your kids, you probably want to check that out. There's a lot there. I have to say, it's nice to see the quantity of people that were there, the amount of media that was there. Not necessarily a lot of car reviews or reveals, but there was no German manufacturers on the floor. That I found interesting. No Mercedes, no Audi, no BMW, although Volkswagen was there. No Jaguar, no Land Rover. So that's seeming to be the new run, that they're going to let the dealers take that and the manufacturers are not going to present.
Very interesting. On there live with Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. And let's talk about EVs. You might have seen the report that was headlined, America's falling out of love with EVs. Inventories piling up and prices are falling, led by market leader Tesla. Give us an update on, and since you have the best sense of what's going on out there from the consumer standpoint as well, what's going on in the EV world?
Well, it's not the cars. The cars are actually really unique and great design. It's the infrastructure and charging, the increased costs, having to put a charging station in, higher insurance rates, and limited range. People they want to be able to fill up their tanks and go, even though the price of fuel is higher. They're being more creative in their movement. So one of the interesting things is there was something called turns, how long a car sits on a dealer lot. You want them to go pretty much as quick as they come in. 2 weeks, 3 weeks of a car sitting on a lot is great. Otherwise, you have to pay finance charges after a month. So we're noticing cars that are there the longest period of time, like the Jaguar I-Pace, which is their all-electric SUV, is almost on the lots almost a year without sales. That costs the dealer money. Yeah, and you're also seeing the Ford Lightning truck, the Mach-E, the Toyota BZ4X, Nissan Leaf. So if you're thinking about an electric car, I bet you there's deals on all those because they'd be thrilled to get them off their lot. If you're considering an electric vehicle, it's also important to note that I just found out yesterday that as of November 8th, the state of California is out of funds for their match. So it used to be you get $7,500 for your electric vehicle credit, and the state would match it. It runs out of funds November 8th.
Isn't that something? All right. Well, thanks for sharing that important information. Remember earlier this year we heard from GM that they sold 2 electric Hummers. Have we gotten an update? Have they sold 3 yet?
Yeah, yeah. They actually have sold more than 3. They're very expensive, and a lot of people that have them just find it difficult from the charging standpoint because it requires so much power in order to utilize all the cool features. So many people are exchanging them for other vehicles. I've seen a few trade-ins already. Usually they're going to smaller SUVs. I mean, they kind of first one to say I had the Hummer. It was cool and all, and it is cool. But they're moving to other vehicles like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and they're looking at other vehicles that make sense, like the Blazer EV, and just going for something that's a little bit more practical.
All right, and you hit on a very important point about the charging stations. We see the Wall Street Journal reporter recently drove through a bunch of EV stations here in Los Angeles County to find, according to his calculation, 27% of them were out of order. What's your reaction to that bombshell news here?
That's no shocker to me. So that's the thing they say, you can charge at home, but not everyone has, especially if you're in a rental unit or a home or in a condo where you have, or an apartment where you don't have a place to charge. You want to go to public charging. And we have found at least that to be the case. I was just in Pasadena where we tested for the World Car of the Year Awards. We had a Fisker Ocean and a bunch of other electric vehicles there. And the problem was, of the 8 charging stations that were at the hotel that we were at, one of them was working, and someone had parked their vehicle there in an electric car, plugged it in, it was fully charged, but they were nowhere to be found. And so that's what happens at these hotels. So we had to go over to City Hall in Pasadena to get a charge. And most of those chargers weren't working either. So this is a problem for consumers, and it could be the downfall for electric cars. I'm not saying they're going to go away. I think there's always going to be a mix. If you want one, you should buy one. But there's going to be other technologies coming. I just left a BMW plant in South Carolina, and we were testing hydrogen. And hydrogen would then be used to fill up your electric vehicle in 4 minutes. That would make people happy. That would be more useful. I don't know if it's actually going to work in the bigger picture, but there's more charging stations in California than any other state. We've got 63 current hydrogen stations.
Absolutely. And we see ChargePoint, by the way, ChargePoint stock slumped to a record low after revenue warning and some executive changes there. We see ChargePoint stock at about $2 heading into the weekend. Lauren, thank you very much for that comprehensive update tonight on what's happening at the LA Auto Show this weekend, as well as on what's happening in the car business. That's Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. Live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz.
OXO takes pride in making every day better, so you can feel better about doing big tasks like this and this. Even this. We're all doing better because OXO partners with 1% for the Planet and donates 1% of its sales to community food programs. So every OXO product you buy helps enrich food systems around the world. For the many things we do, we're all doing better for the planet. OXO and 1% for the Planet. Doing better.